From the band and from myself, let's all say goodnight to Ozzy. Ozzy!
Tribute on Instagram. Thank you for blessing the world.
When news broke that Ozzy Osbourne had passed, the world stopped for a moment. Fans everywhere were heartbroken, but what many didn't know was that behind the scenes, a private memorial was held, one not meant for the public eye. Weeks later, leaked footage began to circulate online, showing moments that were never supposed to be shared. Famous faces gathered, tears were shed, and stories about Ozzy's wild but complicated life were told in ways we'd never heard before. The question is, what exactly did this secret footage reveal, and why are people saying it changed how they see Ozzy Osbourne forever?
It's a really weird kind of thing to reflect on. He's my father, he's my kid's grandfather, he's my co-worker. You know, it's like our whole worlds are intertwined. What just happened? What did we all just witness?
One week after this emotional family moment at Ozzy Osbourne's memorial, son Jack admits his heart is still full of so much sadness and sorrow.
I don't think anything happens without a reason. The universe was like, doesn't give us anything we can't handle.
The first time people heard about the secret footage from Ozzy Osbourne's memorial, it wasn't on TV or in the papers. It started online. A short, shaky clip appeared on a forum before it spread to TikTok and YouTube. Nobody knew who filmed it. Some said it was a staff member working the event. Others claimed it was a guest who broke the rules. No one has been able to confirm.
Ozzy certainly never slowed down.
It's as if I've lived 3 lives in the last 40 years of my life.
17 days before his death in July, he was on stage performing for 45,000 fans at his farewell.
The clip itself wasn't flashy. It showed a candlelit room with everyone sitting in silence. Sharon Osbourne sat quietly near the front, holding her hands together. Kelly, seated a few rows back, looked visibly emotional, almost unable to keep her head up. There was no music in the clip, just the sound of chairs shifting as people tried not to cry. What made it different from a normal paparazzi photo was the intimacy. This wasn't a staged picture on a red carpet. It was a personal shot not meant for the public. People felt like they were intruding by watching it, but they couldn't look away. And that raised another question. If this small piece of footage leaked, was it the only one? Or could there be more clips, moments even more private, that the world hasn't seen yet?
Even though people see him as Ozzy, he's your dad. What does he mean to you?
At the stage that I'm in now, it's like, as a father, your parent kind of becomes more of your kind of roadmap. We'll often reflect on the lessons my dad taught me through life and see how I can implement that, into my own house.
The memorial itself was designed to be private. The room was dimly lit with long white candles on every table. Fresh flowers lined the stage area, filling the air with a quiet sweetness. Only close family, friends, and a handful of music legends were invited. No press, no cameras. Everyone had been told that this was not a show. It was not for the public. It was only for Ozzy. And yet, the existence of leaked footage proves that someone broke that trust. That is what made people online feel so uneasy. This wasn't a celebrity event with flashing cameras. It was supposed to be a safe room where people could grieve without being seen.
I just heard that, I don't know if this is confirmed, but that Ozzy just died. Ozzy Osbourne just died. So I'm sorry. This is crazy. This one is for Ozzy. He might have died, but he will live forever, and we all know that. This one is called Under the Sun.
The guest list itself was impressive. Rock musicians who once toured with Ozzy, television personalities who had known him for decades, and even some family friends no one expected to see were there. These weren't fans or outsiders. These were people who actually lived parts of their lives with him.
Well, there's an added ingredient tonight because we all know just a few hours ago we lost our beloved Ozzy Osbourne. But tonight we're celebrating Ozzy.
What stood out most was the mood. Instead of loud guitars and wild energy, the room was calm and reflective. That felt strange to many who had only known Ozzy as the Prince of Darkness, screaming on stage and living in chaos. Here, for the first time, people saw how his closest circle remembered him, as a father, a husband, and a friend. And it leaves you wondering, was this private memorial the real picture of who Ozzy was all along?
#1 album with Black Sabbath, and then he puts out a solo album that goes, #3 all over the world, and he's just running around the stage like a lunatic, and as I say, living the life, loving his life, loving his sobriety, loving everything, loving his grandkids, and just so happy for once in his life. And then, boom, you have a fall, and everything is gone. And then to see it taken away and the effect that it had on all of us was...
Sharon Osbourne has always been more than Ozzy's wife. For years, she was his manager, his business partner, and the person who kept him alive during years of chaos. She fought through scandals, addictions, and health battles alongside him. That's why, when the leaked footage showed her tribute, people watched closely. In the video, Sharon didn't speak with the tough, sharp tone fans were used to. Her voice was calm, low, and almost broken at times. She told a story about the private man he was at home, and not the rock star the world knew. She spoke about how Ozzy cared for his dogs, how he left her small handwritten notes when he traveled, and how he constantly worried about whether he had been a good father to his children. Fans were stunned by this. Sharon had always been protective, rarely showing this side of him to the outside world. She was known for her fierce defense of his career and his legacy, but never for soft family details. Hearing her describe him this way felt like a glimpse into a side of Ozzy that had been hidden for decades. And the question that spread online after people saw it was simple but haunting. Was Sharon, in that moment, finally revealing the true Ozzy? The one only she and the family really knew? Or was this a version of him she had kept to herself all those years, finally letting the world see now that he was gone?
I read a quote you gave that you...
If Sharon's tribute was calm and steady, Kelly's reaction was the complete opposite. In the leaked clip, she struggled to get through her words. At one point she stopped speaking altogether, putting her head down as her voice broke. You could hear the sound of her crying filling the quiet room.
Ozzy Osbourne just died. So I'm sorry. This is crazy. This one is for Ozzy. He might have died, but he will live forever, and we all know that. This one is called Under the Sun.
You would want us to be together. You would want us to be having a good time, which is what we're doing right now. We love you, Ozzy.
This moment quickly became one of the most talked about parts of the footage online. Fans debated what they were really seeing. Was this just the natural grief of losing her father? Or was there something heavier behind it? Kelly has always been vocal about her love and loyalty to Ozzy, often jumping to defend him when the media attacked. But she also has spoken in the past about her own struggles, about guilt, and about the pain of growing up while watching him fight addiction.
And, suddenly these guys come in and they're hairy and they're very, from the north of England, and they don't look or dress like anything I've ever seen. And so I was very nervous of them.
Well, given that first impression, how in the world did anything ever develop?
I went to see their show that night with my father. They performed at this club in London, and I was so in awe of what I was seeing. Again, I hadn't seen anything like that, because all the artists that we had dealt with were very slick and a different category of music, different genre of music, just totally different. And then when
That's why her breakdown struck people so deeply. Some felt she wasn't just crying for her father's passing. She was crying for years of pain, for the battles they both carried, and maybe for regrets that could never be fixed. Others speculated online that her tears connected to rumors about letters Ozzy may have written before he passed, letters no one in the public has seen. What fans kept asking after watching that clip was chilling. Did Kelly's reaction suggest she was carrying something unspoken? Something only the family knows and the world may never fully understand?
we've put these pins in here and there, and it wasn't as bad as we thought, and he's gonna be fine. He's about 6 months and he's gonna be fine, you'll see.
And how did you see stuff worsen from there?
Well, the list of drugs was unbelievable what they had him on. And I would go in there and I would just say, look, this list is ridiculous. You have to cut him off these drugs. He cannot come out and have to take all these drugs. And there was about 60 or 70 pills that I...
After Sharon and Kelly spoke, the leaked footage shifted to the guests. This was the part that surprised many fans most. For years, Ozzy had been seen as the Prince of Darkness, a man who bit the head off a bat and carried the image of a scary, wild rock star. But in the clips that came out, some of the most famous names in music gave a completely different picture. Tony Iommi, Ozzy's longtime Black Sabbath bandmate, spoke first. He didn't talk about their music or their fame. Instead, he told a story about how Ozzy would always call him late at night, just to check if he was okay. He described him as more of a brother than a bandmate, someone who cared far more than people ever realized.
Because we'd been ripped off horribly in the 70s, and we were trying to produce our own albums and trying to do everything ourselves, and it's just absolutely impossible.
When you manage yourself, there is no way as a band that...
Geezer Butler, another Sabbath legend, laughed as he remembered Ozzy's endless pranks.
The knock on the front door, my brother answered it, and he came in, he says, there's something at the door that wants to see you. And I went, what do you mean, something? And he says, well, go and have a look. And I went out to the front door, and there was this a skinhead with this like big long gown on. His dad worked at Lucas's, the car factory, and he used to wear these big brown gowns. He had this big gown on, a chimney brush over his shoulder, no shoes on, and a pump, what we used to call pump sneakers or trainers or whatever, on a dog lead. And he went, hello, I'm Ozzy.
He shared a story about Ozzy hiding his shoes before a concert, just to watch him panic before they went on stage. One of the most surprising clips showed Elton John speaking. Though never in the same band, Elton was a close friend. He spoke softly, calling Ozzy one of the funniest, most loving men I've ever known. Elton even admitted Ozzy gave him advice during dark moments of his own life. This part of the memorial shocked fans online. To hear laughter, to see these big names tell such simple human stories, broke apart the scary legend Ozzy had built. It showed he wasn't just the madman of rock. He was also a friend, a brother, and someone who made people laugh. And that led to the bigger question. If these huge stars knew a softer, funnier Ozzy, how much of his real life had been kept hidden from the fans who thought they knew everything about him?
Now, in the beginning, is it true that when you were forming Black Sabbath, you were looking for a lead singer and spotted an ad from Ozzy Osbourne in a music store?
It is, yes.
Is that the way, is that true?
Yes, it is true. I mean, Ozzy was at school in a younger year than me.
Yeah.
With me. But I didn't really associate with him at school. And we were looking for a singer, Bill and myself, the drummer. And we went round the music shop and we saw this ad, Ozzy Zig requires gig.
Oh.
I said to Bill, I know an Ozzy.
Not every moment in the leaked footage was warm or lighthearted. As the tributes continued, a different tone slipped into the room, a tone that fans later said made the memorial feel less like a celebration and more like a confession. Sharon, in her tribute, had briefly acknowledged the years of struggle that defined much of their marriage. The world already knew about Ozzy's addictions, the violent episodes, and the chaos that had followed the family for decades. But when she spoke about it in the footage, there was no glamour, no attempt to soften it. She admitted it nearly broke her, that surviving those years felt like a battle most people never saw.
And things like that. But there was never that, let me call Ozzy.
Right.
You know, there was never that thing. I just respected him, and I think we had a mutual respect for each other. We had a lot of the same players. I mean, the great thing about being a lead singer without a band is that you get your pick of, you know who the guitar players are, you know who the drummers are, you know who the bass players are. So between us, we had the same drummer at one time. We had, you get your pick of the litter.
Then came another moment that shocked viewers online. A leaked clip caught one guest saying Ozzy carried a weight he never let go. The words were vague, but they lingered heavily. Fans immediately began speculating. What weight? What regrets? Some believed it was about his substance abuse and the damage it caused. Others felt it hinted at something more private, something never shared with the public.
It can't be the same guy.
And sure enough, we went round to the address of the house and knocked the door, and his mother came. John, it's for you. Yeah. And I saw him walking up the hall, and I said to Bill, forget it. Anyway, he came to the door and we talked to him for a bit, and then we left. And I said to Bill, oh, forget that, you know. I said, we don't want to go there. I said, as far as I know, he can't sing. I never knew he could sing.
Yep.
And then sort of a few days later, Ozzy came round to my house. So I didn't live that far away from him. He came round with Geezer, the bass player, and looking for a drummer. And it turns out that I said, well, Bill's a drummer. And Bill said, no, I'm sticking with you.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, why don't we all get to...
The tone in the room seemed to shift after that. Faces looked heavier, and even the laughter from earlier tributes now felt bittersweet. This wasn't just about remembering the rock star or even the family man. It was about the shadows that had followed him, and perhaps the guilt he never fully escaped. When these clips spread online, fans debated whether the memorial was really just a goodbye, or if it was also a way for those closest to Ozzy to finally say out loud what had always been kept quiet. Was this gathering about honoring his legacy, or was it also a moment of truth, a final unveiling of the pain he carried to his grave?
And that's what we did.
And you did. And I recently read somewhere that Ozzy was very insecure in his abilities, in that he couldn't read music, he wasn't the musician that you were. But in watching and listening to some of Black Sabbath's old stuff, he was a great fit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was a great fit. But he underestimated his ability.
Yeah, and he built his way up into this because we also used to go through these stages when we were doing the blues thing, of being on stage, and Ozzy'd stand right in front of me, and I'd be playing away, and I'd be saying, and maybe.
What made the leaked memorial footage so striking wasn't just what was said, it was where it came from. For decades, Ozzy's life was played out in the spotlight, from stadium tours to tabloid scandals. But this was different. This was private. This was the family's moment, never meant for public eyes. And that's why every word carried so much weight. For fans, the footage offered something they had been craving: closure. They saw Sharon's raw emotions, heard old friends share unfiltered stories, and caught a glimpse of the man behind the Prince of Darkness.
Was amazing all weekend and had the best time, and he was so happy to see everyone and so moved and touched and honored by the whole experience, and it was just a genuinely great experience. Isn't it scary? Like, I never thought, I always look at my parents as being so invincible, and then all of a sudden you realize that, like, oh, they're fragile and they're a little lost, and now it's my job to show them the way.
Those closest to the Osbournes said the leak felt like a violation, as if someone had stolen what little privacy they had left. The memorial was supposed to be their sanctuary, free from cameras and headlines. Instead, pieces of it were exposed to the world. And yet, not everyone saw it as a theft. Some argued that perhaps this was meant to happen, that Ozzy's softer, hidden side could only be revealed this way. After all, his public image had always been built on chaos and controversy. Could this leak have been the only way for the truth to come out?
I had to go out of tune. I needed to tune up, and I used to say to Ozzy, my thing was organise a raffle, which meant talk to the people. I'm going, talk, and I'm holding me, talk to them,
keep them busy.
And he learned as he went on and started getting more, doing his own thing.
He got really good at it.
Yeah, and then when we started writing our own stuff, well, he was.
In the end, the footage gave fans a side of Ozzy they'd rarely seen. Vulnerable, kind, funny, and deeply human. It connected them to him in a way no performance ever could. But it also left unanswered questions. What else was shared in that room that we didn't see? What confessions were kept behind closed doors? That's the part that lingers. The clips showed enough to change how the world remembers him, but they also reminded us of the mysteries that remain. Maybe that's the final chapter of Ozzy's story, not the chaos, not the scandals, but the fact that even legends keep secrets no one will ever fully uncover. And so we're left with one final question. Did the leaked footage finally reveal Ozzy's true legacy, or did it only prove that some truths are destined to stay buried forever? Kindly leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching.